Well, a warm welcome to today's talk. It's Friday the 23rd of July. I've just realised I've actually prepared a bit much stuff today, so I'll probably just do the UK and the United States to begin with, and then we'll go to Uganda as well, I think, at the end. Now, moving on to the UK first of all, before we go on to the States, and obviously it goes without saying cases are going up dramatically in both countries. Hospitalisations are starting to go up and people are getting sick in both countries. More so in the United States because there's a lower proportion of people have had two vaccines, and we know that two vaccines are necessary for full protection against this Delta variant that's causing these terrible problems all around the world. Now, it would be nice if we were using antiviral drugs as well. That would be lovely. But basically, the facts of the matter are that's not going to happen. So it's the vaccines that governments are depending on. I'm reporting that as a simple fact. And given that we depend on our governments, I guess that means we depend on the vaccines, because I'm not expecting, unfortunately, antivirals to be used in any significant way, at least in Western countries. So that's where we are at. Now, the UK, we were talking about the pingdemic yesterday. I think we said something like 630,000 people from memory that people were pinged. And this was actually really starting to affect production, food distribution, supermarkets, NHS, of course. So the government has kicked off procedures by exempting 10,000 food supply workers. So if food supply workers come into contact with someone who's infected with COVID-19, they get pinged, the food supply worker can get tested, and then they can go back to work. They do not have to quarantine for isolate for the 10 days. And perhaps more essential services to come on that. You think about defence, health and supermarkets, as we said. And particular factors and supply chains. I mean, the financial implications of the pandemic is really quite huge. And of course, given that the self-isolation scheduled to stop on is at the 14th of August anyway, I think we can probably expect more movement from the government on that. But so far, they're being quite strict. That's all they've exempted at the moment. I'm a little bit dark today because of the contrast, but never mind. Now, week ending the 17th of July from the Office for National Statistics, always a bit behind the times, of course. Now, the 23rd of July. England, so that's what, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that's 6 days ago. But basically a week ago. Week ending 17th of July. In that week, going back for the 7 days before that, the prevalence in England, there were 741,000 people had the virus. Actually, at the time, that's 1 in 75 people. This is very high prevalence indeed, indicating this massive spread of Delta variant in the United Kingdom. It's basically similar for the other UK countries. So that was England. Wales, slightly better, 1 in 107. Wales, 1 in 210 people. Northern Ireland, 1 in 170 people. And Scotland, similar to England, 1 in 80 people actually had the virus during that week. The week up to the 17th of July. So a very high incidence has led to a very high prevalence. The incidence, of course, being the new cases, the prevalence being the people who have the virus, in this case, during that 1 week period. And the percentage of the population testing positive, the ONS shows the trends in that, and here we have that graph there. The trends in that, so May, August, December, July. So but this is the period we're looking at now. So this is basically this is 2021, this stretch here, isn't it? So cases right down because of the decline in the Alpha variant, then the Delta variant going up here. So now we're looking, as we say, for England, around about 1.5% of the population will be infected if the whole population was to be tested. So there we go. A pretty impressive resurgence. We weren't expecting this because we're still in the middle of summer. We were expecting the cases to be low this summer as they were last summer, but that wasn't accounting for the Delta variant and its massively increased transmissibility. Percentage of the population testing positive by age. Now, this is interesting and probably roughly what you would expect. So people with, now these black lines here, these are the error bars. So basically that's the likely distribution there, and the error bars are relatively small. And the reason that the error bars are relatively small is because this is based on a large sample, so they can keep the error bars small. That's what statisticians are good at. So older age groups, lower percentage of the population testing positive, percentage of the population testing positive by age, again during this week, the week up to the 17th of July. And we see the peak is here in, well, I'd say the peak's at about 18-year-olds there, wouldn't you? Round about there is round about the peak. But we see it building up in the older school ages, staying relatively high in the young adult population all the way down to about 30. And we know that this is the population where the vaccine is still taking time to work because we need the 2 doses. And of course, this younger population, under 18, virtually none of them have been vaccinated. So not surprising, we've got this increase here and this this distribution of the percentage of the population testing positive by age. No great surprises in the distribution, but these percentages, of course, are pretty high, getting on for 4% of the population testing positive in the roundabout the 18-year-old age group during that week. And of course, it's now a week later. These figures are, we know they are higher than this now because the incidence has kept on increasing. But good to get that accurate confirmation. Now, week ending the 11th of July. Now, this data is a little bit older because this is due to the genomic analyses. And of course, they take longer to perform, so the data is even more out of date. So this is up to the week ending the 11th of July. Next week, we'll get the week up to the 17th of July for the genomic data because of the time taking to sequence the genomes. But here we are, Delta variant B1617.2, up to the week leading up to the 11th of July, 98% of cases, basically all of them. Alpha variant, basically 2%. There was a few other minor variants as well, but they were the vast majority. So I suppose that's just under 98%, that's just under 2%, but they were the vast majority of them. Now, the government is also monitoring the EEC mutation very carefully, where the E amino acid is transformed to the K amino acid at the 484th position. Because this is seen in the, this is always seen in the beta South Africa variant, and this was sometimes seen in the alpha Kent UK variant as well. But we now know that there's less of this around, less of this mutation around, because there's less of the alpha variant around, which is interesting. So in the receptor binding domain, the 484th position, the receptor binding domain, you remember, is the actual bit of the spike protein that actually adsorbs onto the ACE2 receptor site, normally the ACE2 receptor site. So it's the bit that actually binds on. The business end of the spike virus is the receptor binding domain, where these chemical reactions take place between the amino acids on the spike of the SARS coronavirus 2 and the receptor sites in the ACE2 receptor where the virus infects. And what actually happens is this asparagine amino acid, which is coded N, is converted into the tyrosine amino acid. So just one change, that amino acid changing to that amino acid at that one position, seems to make this able to escape the immune system to some degree. So this so-called EEC mutation, the E484K mutation, also found in the alpha variant, the B117, immune escape is more likely. And so whether it's from the vaccine or from natural immunity. So if this particular mutation is present, this EEC mutation is present, then people are more likely to get reinfected, and they're more likely to get reinfected whether they've had natural infection or whether they've got immunity from the virus, making infection more likely. The effects on transmission are less clear. Now, this is what is really quite interesting. Given that the alpha variant, which sometimes contain this nasty EEC immune escape mutation. Given that the alpha variant has been outcompeted by the delta variant, now we have much less alpha variant, so we have much less of this EEC mutation, so we have much less immune escape in the country from natural infection and from vaccine-induced immunity. So in a sense, you could say that the delta variant taking over for the alpha variant has had this beneficial effect, that we're likely to get less immune escape, at least from the UK data, which is looking that way. Now, Israel, the data is somewhat inconsistent. More on that probably in the next video. But it could be a bit serendipitous, really, the way that the Delta variant has taken over. Therefore, the Delta variant has, in fact, suppressed the E484K EEC mutation. So, interesting possibility there. Could well have been a serendipitous event. Although, I'm just sort of stretching things a bit there to try and find a silver lining, but it's interesting to think about. Now, the United States, of course, it's at a pivotal point now. Let's look at some of the information. On the last 7 days, cases up 53%, hospitalizations up 32%, deaths up by 19% in the last 7 days. Delta variant, now 83% of cases circulating in the United States. And as if I needed to remind you, that is what the Delta variant does. It makes that scoot up there like that. That is what the Delta variant does. But I don't need to remind you of that. So 83% of cases circulating in the US. And I would expect that to basically be 98% the same as the UK in about a week's time. So basically it's completely taken over in the United States, as we anticipated, to be fair, a long time ago. We have been calling this one for quite some time. Now, the CDC is saying that the Delta variant greatly increases the viral load in an infected person by many hundreds of times, possibly. Greatly increases the viral load. More viral load, more virus is shed, increased transmission. There's probably other factors as well, but that one is now definite because that's reported by the CDC. Increased viral load, and of course that could explain why some people get sick and why younger people can get sick as well, apparently, although we don't have too much firm evidence on this, more so than the alpha variant. Although, as we've just said, we're hoping for less immune escape. Rochelle Walensky, CDC director, direct quotes, "The Delta variant is more aggressive and much more transmissible than previously circulating strains." Correct. "Is one of the most infectious respiratory viruses we know of and that I've seen in my 20-year career." Now, that is saying quite a bit. She's saying this has got sort of a transmissibility here, which is similar to things like measles. She doesn't mention that, but I would imagine that Rochelle Walensky's seen measles. And of course, she's certainly seen, of course she'll have seen measles. And she'll certainly have seen a lot of influenza, but she's saying this is more infectious. So quite a strong statement, actually, there. Reading between the lines from Rochelle Walensky, quite a strong statement. We are yet at another pivotal moment, which is absolutely true. In this pandemic, the cases rising again, some hospitals reaching their capacity in some areas, which is also true. And then a final quote from Dr. Walensky, which I think is quite useful. "We need to come together as one nation, unified in our resolve to protect the health of ourselves, our children, our community, our country, and our future with the tools we have available." And of course, the tools that the United States are using basically are just the non-pharmaceutical interventions and the vaccines. Alabama Hospital Association, to take an example where hospitalizations are particularly high, they've said if you've not been vaccinated, now is the time. Cases are on the rise and the vaccine could save your life. So pretty simple statements from the Alabama Hospital Association. Fully vaccinated rate in the state of Alabama is 34%. Now, of course, many more have had the first dose of the vaccine, but we know that you pretty well need 2 doses for any level of decent protection against the Delta variant. Your protection is about 35% roughly with 1 dose and up to around about 88% with 2 doses. So huge difference. Fully vaccinated, only 34% of the state. That means the rest of the state is whatever that is. The rest of the state, that is 66%, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, the rest of the state is open to this virus. That is, yeah, of course, it's 66%. 66% are prone to the virus. That if you put it in those terms, that is quite sobering. Quite a sobering amount. Cases are up 74% on the week in Alabama. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey, it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down. Pretty strong language from the governor of Alabama. Almost 100% of the new hospitalizations are with unvaccinated folks. Okay, so there you go. Governor of Alabama, and of course, she is in the Republican Party. So Republicans and other parties are basically agreeing on this. There has been political problems, but I'm glad to see that they are reduced, at least in the state of Alabama, and quite a few other places as well, I believe now. Surge response teams sent to Missouri and Nevada, which are also problem areas. And of course, we know that Texas, Florida are also, and California are also particularly worrisome at the moment, with great increases. Delta variant surge. University of Pittsburgh. This guy said there are clearly examples of vaccinated people spreading the virus, so this is true. The question is how often is it happening? Well, we believe from the UK, Patrick Vallance believes about 25% of vaccinated people are still potentially spreading the virus. So the virus is reducing spread by approximately 75%. But as we'll see, data from Israel will cast doubt on that. Data from Israel would indicate that the people that have been fully vaccinated that can still spread the virus is much higher than 25%. So they're the provisional data from the UK. Provisional data from Israel are less optimistic and more concerning than that. But I'm not going to do that now. Preparing the public and preparing clinicians for breakthrough infections. That's the piece I think we're not seeing. And of course, as we looked at yesterday, as Tim Spector told us, common cold symptoms are much more likely in the vaccinated. The headache, the runny nose, the sore throat, the sneezing. These typical common cold symptoms are much more common. The reason I'm looking down there is I've got the list. So I'll just see if I can quickly find it. Because we did this yesterday, didn't we? There we go. It's there, in fact. So these were the 2 doses in the UK. The percentage of people who experience a symptom: runny nose, headache, sneezing, sore throat, loss of smell, in that order, compared to the unvaccinated. And of course, this is all Delta variant data now, where it was headache, sore throat, runny nose, fever, persistent cough. So the United States, this guy could learn from learning from the UK data, because we would expect the symptomatology of the Delta variant to be pretty similar. High index of suspicion for common cold symptoms if you've had 2 doses of vaccine, that you are not going out into vulnerable people and spreading it on, is the key message there. So I think that helps, actually. That kind of answers that question. So we prepare the public by advising them of what we've just told them there about people, talk about those change in the symptoms. Still not reflected in the UK government website, pathetically, but it isn't. We need to know these things now, because 2 months from now it's too late, so we do partly know them now. Now, I'm going to leave that there for today, because I've got quite a few other things I wanted to say. But I think we'll also have an update from Wafafa in Uganda. Now, we saw that Wafafa was riding to the village, telling us about the health problems in the area. And then we saw him consulting that lovely lady with high blood pressure and a few other medical problems, unfortunately. And this is the third and final part of this video now, where he and his patient go off and plant some nutritious trees, because Wafafa goes around planting trees wherever he does his clinical work to improve the nutritional status of the people over the next few years. So let's watch this now, and we'll dip in at 14 minutes, I think we've decided.
Hello everyone, welcome to People. that at regular screening afford to pay for checking of blood pressure, I told her that I will be coming to screen her. And guess what? She was so happy, and my heart too was filled with joy. So, after advising her about the diet, I asked her to go and bring a hoe and we plant some fruits. And she embraced the whole idea, and so I was very happy. So, our viewers, as you can see, I've been taking Mama's blood pressure. Then after that, I was talking to her because she's a known patient of hypertension. She was diagnosed 5 years ago, but she had taken 5 years without checking her blood pressure. She told me it is because she doesn't have money for that. So I found out that her blood pressure is high a bit, though not all that. So I advised her to reduce salt intake, to increase doing some physical exercise, and then eat some fruits as well. As you all know, hypertension is a killer disease, and it affects around 1.13 billion people worldwide, and two-thirds of 1.13 billion people, they come from low to middle status income countries, where our country lies. What we've decided is that we plant some seedlings for oranges and then moringa. We believe that after 1 year, she will be able to get something out of those fruits. She may get the fruits themselves, or she may actually sell. So with us here is the orange seedling. It's nice. Oranges, they have a lot of vitamin C, so it's good to have them. And then here is a moringa. Moringa is a miracle tree. Moringa has a lot of nutrients. It has proteins, it has vitamins, it has magnesium, and many other things. Actually, uh, it has more like twice the proteins you get from milk, and then it has also about 7 times potassium you get from bananas. It also has about 7 times vitamin C you get from oranges. So this is a miracle tree. That's why we encourage people to plant them. So what we are trying to do, so that we have a lot of them to plant, but we just want to challenge the community by planting these few, such that we will be challenged and they will end up planting more. We believe that if we keep doing this in this community, many people will plant these nutritious plants, and with the time we shall have them, and this will improve the health status of our people as well as the economic status. So move with us as we go to plant these plants. So these are our plants. These are just kukuwele kale kale ari hulihutsa hubyala waina mai. Okay, kale